I'll take it away.
Right.
Good morning, Nigeria. As always, TVC has got a finger on the pulse and our eyes on the streets, and we do our best on a daily basis to bring you trending stories from across the globe and Nigeria in order to have some decent and hopefully interesting dialogue about said stories. In our first story, a coordinated pre-dawn operation in Abraka, Delta State, has led to the killing of 4 suspected kidnappers and the recovery of an AK-47 rifle, according to the Delta State Police Command. Now, this raid was conducted around 3 a.m. along the Abraka railway axis and involved a joint task force of police officers, local hunters, vigilantes, and anti-cult volunteers. Now, acting on credible intelligence, the team stormed the suspected hideout, sparking a fierce gun duel. 4 suspects who were believed to be between 25 and 30 years old sustained gunshot wounds and were later confirmed dead. Several others reportedly escaped into the bush with injuries. Now, the video that you're about to watch shows these kidnappers splayed on the ground, dead bodies killed by local vigilantes. Although an anonymous source initially claimed that 4 rifles were recovered, police spokesman Bright Edafe confirmed that 1 AK-47 and 13 rounds of ammunition were seized. A kidnapped victim who was recently rescued by the authorities identified one of the deceased as a leader of the gang that abducted him. He said that these were not ordinary criminals. They were heavily armed and clearly knew the terrain. This is very, very scary. For 6 days in Abraka, Delta State, 200 people came out to protest the incessant kidnappings that were going on in the state in order to get the attention of the governor, Sharif Oborowori. And so I guess that this sort of work, they did clash with the Nigerian army while they were protesting. And now these unhinged vigilante members have stepped in and taken laws into their own hands and killed these kidnappers in cold blood. Where do we draw the line between mob justice and protecting our communities? This is the question we must ask. Let's take a look at social media. Ogaga says, if the government are not ready to protect the people, then the people should get the job done for their safety. And Akin Joshua says, local security will end this insecurity in every community if they are well and fully equipped. And this is what we have been begging the government for. Indeed, when there are gaps in policing, when there are gaps in security, it leaves room for unhinged security forces to step in. But in another development, in a twist that has left many Nigerians both amused and outraged, separatist agitator Simon Ekpa told a Finnish court that he is not a leader of the indigenous people of Biafra. He's just a content creator. Ekpa, who has been at the center of countless online videos calling for sit-at-home protests and threatening violence across Nigeria's southeast, is now claiming all that he was doing was content and it was simply for leisure. According to media reports, his legal team in Finland is arguing that the videos he published were not real-world directives, but online content purely meant for entertainment. Now, this is coming as Finnish prosecutors push for a 6-year jail term, accusing Simon Ekpa of public incitement to commit crimes with terrorist intent and participating in a terrorist group. Now, IPOB has since distanced themselves from him, and its leadership says that Ekpa no longer has ties to their organization and that his actions have caused more harm than good. As this trial unfolds, the court's final decision will, of course, set a precedent on how international jurisdictions handle politically charged content in the digital age. What is interesting to me is to see that there are real-life consequences for digital character, if you ask me. I think this is, I don't know if this is cunning or if this is a convenient defense on his part, but his actions and his incitement did have real-world consequences and were very inflammatory. Let's take a look at social media. At Afam says, just finished listening to Simon Ekpa's court proceedings and I'm honestly in disbelief. During cross-examination, he completely distanced himself from IPOB, claiming he's merely a content creator. According to him, everything he's done was simply acting, nothing more. That doesn't sound like a very courageous leader to me. We'll take one more tweet. At Nedre says, this is not only insulting, it's cowardice at the highest level. People have died, schools shut down, businesses collapsed, and entire communities lived in fear. All based on the commands of a man now pretending it was all for entertainment. Team, this is very, very interesting. We are seeing in Delta State, vigilantes have actually gone and killed people in cold blood. Now, while some people are arguing that this is mob justice, other people are saying there's gaps in policing, there's gaps in security. We had no choice but to step in. What do you make of this?
When vigilantes have to step into things like this, the mentality is that of communal clash. They'll behave as if they are going through a communal clash. Now, what vigilantes do in a situation like this is when you get the guys, you hand them over to the police. But so far, that trust deficit on our security architecture, our government and all that, is actually affecting us. I think that governors should take these warnings seriously. If the governor of Delta State has taken this warning seriously and allow state actors to go into this business, the vigilante would have just been like a support group for the right people to do it. Yeah, luckily, they got, but how do we know that they got the actual kidnappers? Somebody identified one person. Thank God for that. And for Simon Ekpa, I've seen some of his videos, very inciting videos, and you call that content creation? Maybe he should go to school again to find out what the meaning of content creation is all about, because to me, those things he did is not content creation, it's inciting a society.
I mean, a number of businesses were destroyed as a result of his statement. A number of people lost their lives as a result of his statement. People could not go out of their houses, so businesses were lost. Billions of naira lost as a result of his kind of entertainment. What are we saying? What is entertainment? In fact, those that are defending him, where is your conscience? That's my concern. People have lost their life as a result of your kind of entertainment and your kind of content creation. And you stay in your house, dancing in your videos, inciting people, and you have the guts to say it is entertainment? How? I recall that this man in prison had actually said that he has no connection with Simon Ekpa. He mentioned it several times in court because he's being prosecuted as we speak. So I do not want to talk about him that much. But it is sad to see that Simon Ekpa is speaking in this manner and his defense counsel are also speaking in the same light. We must see justice not just done, but seen to be done at the end of the day, because he has to give account for the lives and the properties that were destroyed. And then for the matter of Delta State, I think that because of the wheel of justice that grinds slowly in this part of the world, a lot of people begin to take laws into their hands, and that's what we are seeing. We mentioned earlier, Olamide, that the people had been crying out about the fact that there were a lot of actions of kidnappers and all. How did the government respond to these cries and calls? And so people decided to take action the best way they can. They want their own kind of justice. And that is why we are seeing this. In a society where the wheel of justice grinds slowly, we see these kinds of issues.
I want to start with Mr. Ekpa, because I've seen his videos on social media. And Olamide, trust me, when I came, that was yesterday, I came across a post on social media that said he was creating content. I was totally, you know, I don't even want to use the word I want to use. First of all, we can call him a coward, because he made all these things. He made all these things, and then now you see he sees that problem is coming and he's saying it's content. It was not content. It was never content. I don't know if he understands the impact of those videos he was making, the impact he had on many people. I don't think he gets it. And anybody that supports him as well, I would join the person to the bandwagon and say that it's really inhuman, because it's not content. And I pray that the law really takes, you know, the stage on him and what he did, because you cannot say that is content. We see content on social media, but there's a limit to content you create as well. So I really hope that he faces the law on this one. And also, I'm never in, you know, I never support violence, but it's sad that the people have now taken powers into their hands, and this is because they've been crying. So my only cry with this is that I think it's high time the government will start listening to the people. You know, I don't know if the governor of the Delta State has come out to say anything, but we need to start listening to people, because when you don't listen to your citizens, this is what will happen. Normally, I would have said that when they caught the kidnappers, they should have taken them, you know, to the police station. But then they'll tell you if they take them to the police station, nothing will happen. At the end of the day, people do not even trust our police force anymore. So please, this is my cry. We need to listen to our people, and so that we don't keep seeing, you know, them taking violence and justice into their hands. I really do not support, you know, justice like this, and violence.
Indeed. I think that's also why the conversation around the state, you know, police is still on the front burner.
Absolutely.
That we need to look into a legalized security system, so that if they are, you know, put in place, they can quickly nip some of these very local, you know, matters in the bud before it becomes a national conversation. Yes. Because we cannot keep allowing, you know, marauders to inflate or invade communities and do what they're not supposed to do. And then the narrative keeps changing from that onto something else. We need to look at that and quickly expedite the process of creating a state police, if that would be the case, so that at the end of the day, everybody would feel safe in their homes. For Mr. Ekpa, well, I think the guy was just trying to downplay content creation. Maybe he needs to redefine what he defines as content creation, because at the end of the day, you cannot be putting such kind of violent, vile, viced languages out there on air, and then at the end of the day, you say that it was an entertainment. Man, that cannot be an entertainment that leads to loss of lives and property. So I think we need to look at this again. Again, the government, when they talk about regulating social media space, some of us, you know, raise a hue. But look at what this has done. This was on social media for a number of periods. And then we've seen the after effect of that. Should we then go back to regulating that? Or should we reschool ourselves as to what should be the kinds of content we put out? What we do at an individual level has effect at a cross-border level. So we need to be sure what we do so that everybody feels safe at the end of the day.
Indeed, and some might argue that this is an insult on Nigerians' intelligence.
Yeah,
to tell us we watched you make inflammatory remarks, and to come and have that sort of defense in court is absolutely unacceptable. Yeah. But Tim, I really want to point out something in terms of this clash and this death of the kidnappers that we're seeing in Delta State. Just 2 weeks ago, I took a video where Nigerian police forces were hesitant to go into a terrain where kidnappers had said to have carried some people in there. And so what this local vigilante is now showing us is that the intelligence infrastructure is possible to go into forest terrains to capture the people. This is an embarrassment.
Because they understand the terrain. They are locals, and they understand the terrain, and that's the essence of the state police. That's what it needs to address, local people addressing local issues, because they understand the terrain and they know the people.
Hopefully we can see some collaboration with local vigilantes
at the end of the day. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Moving on in our next submission, the former EFCC chairman, Abdulrasheed Bawa, is back in the spotlight, but not for another sting operation, but for a tell-all book that's already turning heads. The book is titled The Shadow of Loot and Losses, Uncovering Nigeria's Petroleum Subsidy Fraud, and it dives deep into one of Nigeria's biggest financial scandals, the subsidy mess that cost the country trillions of naira years ago. Now, Bawa, who led the special EFCC team during the 2012 subsidy probe, shares explosive details about how companies faked documents, claimed money for fuel that was never imported, inflated shipment volumes, and even smuggled subsidized fuel across borders for profit. From ghost importation to double claims and doctored shipping records, his book outlines how elaborate this scam was and how systemic corruption made it possible for so long. Now, while some may view the publication as a timely insider account of Nigeria's fight against fraud, others may question its potential impact, especially in a country where accountability often ends at exposure. This is very, very interesting. There was a lot of sentiment online saying that he didn't make any major convictions during his time as the EFCC chairman, and so why is he bringing this book out now? But it does preserve institutional memory, and it gives us a sort of insight into what happened. I know that he did testify against Nadabo Oil when he was chairman and its chairman, but no significant convictions were made. Let's take a look at you guys' reactions to the publishing of this book, this tell-all book. It's so juicy. Johnson says, How many did you jail while you were the EFCC chairman? No one. You were only playing along with the looters. And now you've left the commission, you're releasing one useless book. Nobody should listen to you because you already know there is heavy corruption in the sector. I take it you will not be buying the book, Johnson. We'll take one more tweet. At James says, why wasn't it unraveled during his time as the head? Isn't it ironic why all of the ex-EFCC bosses have been vehemently prosecuted after leaving their position? It's high time the anti-graft agencies are legally backed to operate autonomously without interferences. There is a bill currently right now being that just passed second reading at the Parliament. At Oye John says, I hope he included the clearing of allegations of financial reckless spending made against him in his book. In our next story, in another development, the Nigerian Copyright Commission, NCC, has issued a stern warning to DJs across the country to stop playing copyrighted music in public without proper authorization. Now, according to the NCC Director General, Dr. John Assain, the DJs performing in clubs, hotels, event centers, and other public venues must obtain licenses from copyright holders or their approved collective management organizations. Under the Copyright Act of 2022, only copyright owners actually have the exclusive rights to reproduce or publicly perform their work. Violating this law is considered copyright infringement and carries serious penalties, including fines of at least 1 million naira and up to 5 years imprisonment. Dr. Assain emphasized that public DJ performances actually qualify as public performances and communications to the public, making licensing mandatory for DJs. The NCC has now vowed to enforce these rules strictly and will take legal action against offenders. DJs are urged to regularize their activities by securing necessary licenses and paying royalties to avoid prosecution. Can you leave anything for us? These days, I'm seeing a lot of commissions and institutionalized bodies sending out warnings. Warning. Can we have something? So you won't tell me that if I'm at a party and I want to listen to Davido, my DJ must have first joined the DJs Association of Nigeria. It's not sustainable, guys. Let's take a look at social media. At Multimedia says, is the commission aware that DJs are the ones propagating artists' music? In fact, when I was working in a radio station in Abuja some years back, artists used to bring their songs and beg DJs to play them. We'll take one last tweet. At Protect Nigeria says, I beg, let's enjoy good music. Go to Alaba Market and tackle piracy. It is killing Nollywood. Leave our DJs alone. I completely agree. Before I hand over to the team, I'd like to please ask you guys to chime in with the hashtag TrendingNowTVC on any social media platform of your choice. I promise you that I am listening. And who knows, I might even take some of your tweets and opinions. But team, former EFCC chairman coming out now to release a tell-all book. Is this timely? Is it necessary? What does this do for the current landscape of the EFCC? How does that help us in any way?
Coming out to give blow-by-blow account of stuff like that will make the book sound juicy and people will want to buy and so on. You know,
he's doing this for business.
It's business. It's business.
Because it's one thing to uncover justice and another thing to actually make convictions and uncover corruption and make convictions.
Yes, like one of the comments, the commentators there said is, how many convictions did you do when you were in office? So writing the book is it's clear business, and you'll be shocked. You'll be shocked the amount of people that will download the soft copy. And DGNCC, how do you intend to enforce that? I think you should work in collaboration with the Copyright Society of Nigeria, because a lot of these musicians are being paid royalties because of DJs.
Interesting. Now, let me begin. Let me take the story of the EFCC, former EFCC chair. At the end of the day, when you occupy certain offices, there are certain things you cannot say because of that position. Yeah. And so right now that he is out of office, there are certain things he can say. And this is because of the peculiar situation we have in our country. And he just wants you to have an insight into some of his experiences. Unfortunately, a majority of Nigerians do not read and may not see the essence for that, because justice, again, is a major challenge in our country, and they wonder what is the essence. But I hope that this book can, cause some ripples, and then we can see justice at the end of the day.
All right, and I saw like in the book, he said that Nigeria had lost 2.6 trillion naira. So I definitely want to read that book. Olamide, I'm definitely getting the book. And
I know you don't play about your money.
I agree with Veronica as well. I think that we do not read. So we just saw the book and he's coming from the ex-chairman of EFCC. So, oh, we're not going to read it. But I think it's something to read and also understand, you know, what he was trying to say. Because of our time, go ahead.
Yeah,
you know, apart from just highlighting what he's trying to highlight, I want to also see a book from former serving government officials that brings the things that were wrong and the things I did to fix it. Not just telling us what was wrong alone. Because at the end of the day, you were put in that position to fix what is wrong. I want to see that.
That's how we need to read the book. So when we read
So the next person who comes in would know what to do, right? Okay.
Okay.
But I will still stick with this. If you occupy certain positions in Nigeria, there are certain things you cannot do while in office. But that's where we'll leave the conversation for today. Thank you, Olamide, for those stories.